Hey guys, Bridget here. In this video we're going to create input fields using variants in Figma. Now I recently created a video explaining all the basics of variants, but in this video we're going to go right into the practical workflows. So this is almost a workshop which we're going to create around variants, and I'm going to leave this file available for free. So we already have some buttons, but you can also start from scratch directly. What I'm gonna do as a first thing is I'm going to duplicate this button right here, which as you can see is just an instance, and I'm going to essentially detach this instance right here, and I'm going to go ahead and create a dropdown. So we're using auto layout, by the way. So what we're going to do is we're going to start typing something like select, and what I'm gonna do right here is I'm going to change the padding on the right, so we have a little bit more of a input field. So what we want to do in this case is essentially, in order to avoid it basically hugging all the containers, is we do something around these lines where we say fill container, and then we're going to add the out width so that we can start typing, and the drop down is essentially not going to change in width. All right, so this is going to be the first one, and what we're gonna do next is we're going to turn this into a component, and we're going to click on plus variant in order to create our very first variant. So here we go. We know that we created a variant simply because we have all of these dashed lines, and we're going to make this a bit bigger because we're going to need some space in order to create the different variants for this input fields. And we're going to keep things kind of simple for the time being. And what we're gonna do is essentially we're going to have, well, actually, as a first thing, we're going to delete this one. And I want the font to be a little bit smaller, and also a little bit more on the gray, with a gray tint. And what we're gonna do next is we're going to add also these field right here. Now, as we're going to create this input fields, we're going to start adding different type of properties. So the very first property is going to be state, and then equal. This one's going to be default, then comma. The second property is going to be type, equal input, comma, and then we're going to have size, equal, and this one is going to be default. All right, so as you can see, what we just typed in the layers panel, we're going to see all the different properties right here. So we have the state, which is default, the type, input, size, default. All right, probably we can also go with regular for the size. Actually, let's double check what we use here in order to maintain the consistency. So at the moment we have small and default, so yeah, never mind. Let's just keep it as default. I just use Command Z in order to do that. So, all right, this is going to be the first one. And right after that, we're going to have a few. So I'm going to just duplicate this a few times, and I'm going to change the labels in these states. So this one's going to be active, then we're going to have success, then let's bring these here below, and let's go ahead and distribute vertical spacing. Let's write error and disabled. All right, so for the active version, we're going to add a stroke, which is going to have the same color as this one right here. So essentially this is going to show the active state. We're going to have a success state, which is going to have some sort of, let's select this stroke. It's going to have a green color. Maybe something around these lines could work well. Don't want it to be like too green. So yeah, that's that. Then we're going to have an error state. Instead of effects, we need a stroke. Here we go. And for the disable state, we're simply going to make this the text lighter, and we're also going to decrease the fill just a little bit. All right, so we have our basic input fields, and now what we're gonna do next is we'll need to adjust the different type of basically properties that we have here. And also on top of that, probably want a right after the active a field which essentially says type. So basically when you're typing in, and of course like you can definitely like create all sorts of different type of input fields and states. Just keeping minimal for now. So going to write here mark, and as if it was the start of me typing a name. I'm also going to add in the mix a line, and okay, let's add it right here. I'm going to use the same color just to show. All right, so far so good. So this one is going to be typing. Perfect. I think I deserve a sip of coffee, and then we go right into the properties. So the very next thing that we're gonna do is we're going to adjust the state. So this one is going to be active, and let me just bring this a little bit more towards the right. The second one right here, actually we're going to need to adjust all of these guys. So actually let's just go one by one, and let's do the whole thing instead of doing state by state. Otherwise it's going to take a long time. Well, actually these other two are pretty much the same, so we can simply go ahead over here, change the state. This one's going to be typing, and as you can see, this one is not within the variants. So how do we solve this, you might ask? Really easy. You go over here. First of all, you want to write input so that you can understand where's what. Then the very next thing is we're going to bring this line right into this part right here, which you can easily do by basically detaching the instance, bringing the line right here, and then oops, for whatever reason, okay, so this is stuff that happens along the way. Let's just bring it over here in the input fields, or actually just this one right here. So actually you just noticed something which you want to avoid with variants. So I'm gonna make it like super fast. The easiest way in order to just add a new variant, because it's going to be tricky to add ones which aren't like the master symbols, the master components. So as you can see, like right here, these ones I can easily add. The other one I basically need to create a master component out of it, and then boom, I can basically added right here. So small issue with the line, and the reason being is due to the auto layout. So how do you solve this? We could potentially say, okay, I'm not going to add the auto layout in this specific case, and boom, I have this thing going on. And the reason why we didn't use the auto layout as well is because don't really need a lot of auto layout in here anyways. It's kind of like optional, I guess. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And let's go on to the very next stages. So at the moment we have state active, this one here state typing, this one should be success. So you can easily just change it right here. This one's going to be success, this one's going to be error, and this other one is going to be disabled. All right, so far so good. Now this is all when it comes to the inputs. Now we're going to create now what we're gonna do next is, okay, for some reason it's just selecting the other thing. Okay, now what we can do next is create also the dropdowns in the same part, and yeah, why not, really? So we can select between type inputs and also dropdowns and whatnot. Now, as you can see, so far I can easily change these between the input fields. So just created this frame right here, which is going to enable us to see what something is gonna look in real life. And let's change the background color just a bit. And as you can see, I select to active, to disabled, to typing, I'm going to have all of those fields, right? So say that we want a dropdown now. The way that you do it, it's pretty easy. Simply duplicate this right here. What I want to do next is also to add here a label. This is going to be input. Let's make it a bit bigger, and let's make it go 100%. This one's going to be drop down. Maybe let's keep the same style for these labels. And what I'm gonna do next really is just add a drop-down icon. And as you know, I really like Nucleo icons, since I can drag and drop them. I think it's nucleoicons.com or nucleoapp.com, something around these lines. And yeah, for whatever reason I'm not seeing the icon. Yeah, here we go. And all right, let's try and make it the same color, or just a bit lighter. And here we go. What we're gonna do in these guys, for these guys, is we could essentially either remove the auto layout, since as you can see it controls like all this area, or we can simply adjust it. So we can say something around these lines, and what we can also say is like, hey, bring this guy like all the way to the right, so we have the drop down. And yeah, it's pretty much what we can do in pretty much in every each and every case. If you've done this earlier, you will be at an advantage, of course, but I mean, it's not really a big deal, so you can always adjust it. Here we remove the auto layout just to show how the option without the auto layout is going to look like. And then yeah, simply adjust this guy, bring it all the way here, bring it to the left, and again let's just duplicate this, bring it right here, and essentially do the same also in this case. All right. $109, and we are good to go. All right, so here we have our drop downs, and in order to change the drop down, from input to drop down, simply go over here under type, make it drop down, and same also right here, type drop down, type drop down, and type drop down. All right, so let's go back over here, and if we've done our work, our due diligence right, we're going to have the drop down in pretty much each and every one of these guys right here. So you can easily see how you can change these different elements pretty easily. So we're going to write also here type input. Right, so we also have the drop down now. Now what we're gonna do next is adding the password. So let's go ahead and let's do that. So the way you do it is really easy. You simply duplicate all this, and you go ahead and let's use the dots. Now this is not really what we're going to want for the password, so I'm just going to delete this, bring it right here, and what I'm gonna do is going to make sense in just a moment. So we basically want these dots separated, and let me just add a few more of these guys. And what we're gonna do is we are going to essentially do under outline stroke. I think that could work. Yeah. So we're essentially going to have these instead of having instead of being like fonts, they're essentially going to be vector icons. So yeah, that's pretty much how we want to tackle this. Now, as you might have noticed, all these input fields are not inside the variables anymore. So this is an issue that we have to solve. And as you can see, I copy and paste it. It's not gonna work. I copy and paste it individually. It's working. Okay, I guess we're just gonna do this this work a few times, and we're going to be good to go. No idea why it's not copy and pasting like multiple times, but yeah. Okay, drop down. This one is going to be passwords. All right, so let's remove these guys, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, all of them essentially. Let's bring the password here. So as you see, as you might have noticed, the distance between the left side is all good, but now we have an issue with the top and bottom padding. Reason being is that this element is 13 pixels in height, while this one is 4 pixels in height. So what the auto layout is saying is like, hey, I'm going to have a fixed height, a padding between the top and the bottom, and it's exactly the same as this one, but we just need to tweak it. So height of this element is 30, like 0.3, so we need to aim for 30 pretty much. And the way we do it is go here now to layout, start adjusting these parameters, and until we basically hit 30, I guess, 29. So we need 13 and 13. And here we go. We have the same height pretty much. I mean, there's like such a super small difference, but not even noticeable. And yeah, let's do the same for all of these guys. Let's bring it here, see if we can like bulk change the auto layout. We cannot, so we're just gonna do it manually, not a big deal. 13, 13. Let's go on this one right here. All right, so far so good. And I think we're good to go when it comes to these ones. We're just going to change it from input to password. And there you go. Password. Type password. And type password. All right, so far so good. So if I go over here, let's just center this for time being. I go on password. You can see that now I have all the different passwords as well. So you have quite a bit of flexibility. You can essentially change between inputs and dropdowns and password for each and every state, really. So that's pretty good. And what I noticed is that on the typing one, still want this guy to be here. And yeah, pretty good to go. And just one last thing, we have a default in between, which we want to get rid of when it comes to the inputs. Yeah, this one right here. Type this is input, size is not input, size is default, property 4 shouldn't be there. All right, where do we have the property 4 also? I think we have it in all of them. Oh my god. So you see, I'm not going to cut this video because I want to keep it raw. Like, this is the stuff that you guys are going to have to deal with as designers. And this is something that I'm thinking about, like generally speaking, with my YouTube videos moving forward, especially like these kind of like workshop ones. I don't want to create like this perfect video without showing like all of these things which actually happen when you're working on design projects, because this is your day-to-day really. Like, you're going to have stuff that you didn't take in account for, and then you're going to have to like undo some of the work and do some like repetitive tasks and stuff like that. It's all part of the process really. So yeah, I guess I don't want to be misleading in that sense, meaning that it's all like perfect and everything you do, you get it right the first time, because it's definitely not my experience. It's all a learning curve. You always learn. So yeah, okay, this is all cleaned up. We just have okay, we still have the default, so you need to figure out where the default is. Probably going to do that, yeah, right here. Type input. All right, still have the default somewhere in the error. And all right, we got rid of the default. Perfect. So I hope this video was helpful, and I'm going to continue in the very next one with some more updates on this, and then this is just going to be a freebie which I'm going to leave for you guys to enjoy. And so yeah, if you want to keep going on with the journey on this, feel free to watch the upcoming videos.